So I am a fan of the fact that we've both gone for, like, the hat look, aka, fuck it, it's warm and my hair's a mess. But I've gone for the backwards hat, and you've gone for the forwards hat.
Yeah, no, it was definitely just, I walked the shop and it was a bit warm, my hair was sweaty, I was like, I ain't got time, just put a cap on.
Exactly. No one needs to see us being sweaty Bo Betties. Not on this, a very special episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. So I'm your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the lovely and luscious Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
And as mentioned, today's a very special episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast because we are joined by a guest. They're not here now, they're actually back in the past. We've already recorded the episode. What you're seeing now is us recording after the fact to introduce that guest.
Yeah, and, they were a great guest to have on, and just, it was certainly a pick for a topic that was interesting, and I enjoyed just how much that, they were able to kind of delve into the subject and have so much knowledge over it, because they commit themselves when they commit themselves to the topics for their videos.
Yes, so this week's guest is Dr. Jordan Breeding, to use their YouTube name. Just it's Jordan to me. I've worked with them in the past for many, many a year, and we brought them on to discuss I Know What You Did Last Summer, but the discussion went to many other places. And as Lucas mentioned, they are well known for doing their deep dives. We highly recommend go checking out Jordan's YouTube channel, found link below. They've done many a deep dive into some popular and not so popular horror franchises, including the Saw series and Wishmaster. So we highly recommend you go check those out. And yeah, I'm really excited for that I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. Because have you seen the crossover they've done?
Wait, what?
So what would you think would be a good crossover for I Know What You Did Last Summer? Gaming wise. What's a gaming franchise? Yeah, what's a gaming franchise where they put lots of horror villains in there?
I'm presuming Dead by Daylight.
It's not Dead by Daylight. Maybe Dead by Daylight's got one, but it's Call of Duty.
I guess, I could see that working with, zombie mode kind of thing, but
keep in mind, do you know what, the last collaboration Call of Duty did? If you want an idea of, how tonally dissonant it's going to be.
I was about to say Sabrina Carpenter, but that's Fortnite, but I'm guessing it was probably a pop star or something.
No, it was American Dad. And before that, it was Beavis and Butthead.
Of course.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see the killer from I Know What You Did Last Summer running around killing Stan and Roger from American Dad. Keep in mind as all the latest Call of Duty games set in the 90s, and all the collaborations supposed to be 90s themed. American Dad came out in the 2000s. Anyway.
Yeah. I am way more excited to see, though, Karl.
What's that?
Jordan's video on, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which you can watch after watching this podcast, I guess, because you should give us our time too.
Yeah, see, if you like Jordan's content, you're about to see an hour and a half of him talking to us about a variety of subjects that they're interested in. But before we move on to their stuff, we just need to shout out our Pet of the Week, because that's a gimmick we like to do. If you are enjoying the fact there is just a cool looking cat on screen, you see Miso, giving it riz.
Yeah,
give us the old razzle dazzle. That's what gives it. It's when a cat gives you the old razzle dazzle. You can go give some love to Miso in our Discord, found link below. If you'd like to submit a picture of your cat giving it the old razzle dazzle, you can join our Patreon at any tier and submit pictures of your pets. Otherwise, you can go vote on them. But I love it when people get pictures of animals in
just when you're looking at that picture of Miso, what is that pose?
Do you know what that pose is? That pose is baller as fuck. So I've never seen a cat doing a JoJo pose, but now I have, and I'm so happy that I have.
God, I can imagine going back to Jordan, watching them break down JoJo of them dressing up in the outfits and doing all the poses.
He'd die. If you try to contort his body into the way that the JoJo characters do, you'd die. God, I still think the thing I've got most respect for Jordan for is when he straps himself to the hood of his car to do a video about Mad Max. And he confirmed to us that, I did just strap myself to the front of my car. It wasn't moving, but I was on front of my car for an hour and a half reading my scripts. I was I'm sat in a comfy chair, and sometimes my ass hurts. Yeah,
that's one thing that just, I am incredibly jealous and not jealous of, is the amount of time and effort Jordan puts into their work. So I'm like, man, I'm jealous that I don't do that, but also I'm really glad that we can sit in a comfy chair and have a nice discussion rather than needing to go through all that effort.
It's one thing I've learned from all the guests we've had on so far is that we don't do nearly as much work as we probably should. Every time we bring a guest on, all it makes me think is like, man, I'm so bad at my job. I don't do nearly enough to justify calling myself a content creator.
Hopefully the discussions that we bring make up for the cheap green screen effect behind me.
Well, what we're doing is we're going for like quantity over quality.
We are.
Even though Jordan probably puts out more content than we do, so
that can't be true.
It can, I guess if you add it all up, we probably do on paper more.
Yes.
Then I guess it's up to what you, the audience watching at home, decide is valuable. And we would hope that you find the conversation you're about to listen to valuable, whether it be entertaining, educational, informative, what have you. Ultimately, we just want you to just have fun, relax, grab yourself a sandwich, a beverage, go to sleep if you want, unless you're driving your car.
Yeah. And if you are driving your car, just make sure you don't hit any weird psychopathic murderers with superpowers.
That would be some like next level matter, right? If you're listening to a podcast about I Know What You Did Last Summer and you hit someone with your car.
Yeah. Please, if you do this, don't tell us. We don't want to know.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what you did last summer. I don't even want to know what my friends did last summer, let alone like strangers.
Oh, well, I guess that's a good way to lead into the podcast then, Karl.
It is indeed, yes. So we hand it over to ourselves from the past. Cheers for watching, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. I understand that you've been getting deep into the I Know What You Did Last Summer verse, Jordan. Any surprises that you've learned while doing a deep dive into this franchise? Which I didn't realise was a franchise. This multimedia empire.
Well, probably I don't enjoy it, but what's interesting about the third one in particular is that what starts as they hit a person with a car, they think he's dead, they throw him in the water. A year later, they are being attacked. That's the premise of the first one. By the third one, it turns out that the fisherman is a ghost zombie, and he isn't even tied to water. He's attacking people in a ski town in Colorado. And it's so nonsensical. And not only that, the thing that they did last summer is they staged an attack. Didn't hurt anybody, but one of their buddies skateboards off a parking garage and lands on a tractor and dies. And they're like, we can't tell anybody. I'm like, well, that was his. You didn't kill him. That's his fault. It's not your fault that he's bad at skateboarding. Anyway, I wouldn't say it started that great, but the way that it dips by the third movie in particular is just fascinating to me.
Okay, so we did get a little cut our end there, didn't we, Lucas? So you turned into a ghost when you mentioned that there was a ghost.
Oh, I turned into a ghost?
You briefly disappeared into the internet void, yes, but I do have to give you props for watching every sequel to every bad franchise that you cover. And it must get frustrating, you did one on Wishmaster, which is why I initially reached out to you. Did you get frustrated by, the third one? It's not the same guy anymore playing the Wishmaster?
I think I was more frustrated by... I like the conceit. I like that he can only has power when people wish, and he only really is able to enact pain by doing sort of a monkey paw thing and misinterpreting the wish in the most unfavorable way. But by the third one, he's just slugging dudes. He's just punching people in the face. He's, people are conjuring swords. What's the point? At that point, it's just like it's Michael Myers but talkier. It's obnoxious to me. So I definitely get frustrated because that's the thing, right? Is when you watch all these back to back, I get really annoyed about the lore changes.
Yes.
I'm like, surely you should care as much as me, the idiot watching them. Just keep it consistent. I don't know. I don't know why that matters to me so much, but it does. And Wishmaster is as bad as any of them as far as taking an interesting idea and then just saying, let's just punch people.
Just the fact they got rid of Andrew Divoff as the Djinn, just that dude is fascinating. I remember watching Wishmaster. Have you seen Wishmaster, Lucas?
I don't know. This sounds
we
fascinating.
might have to do an episode on Wishmaster.
Oh, man.
Because the guy who plays the titular Wishmaster, the Djinn, is a guy called Andrew Divoff, and he just has the most... This dude was meant to be a horror movie villain face. And in real life, he's an actual certifiable genius who speaks 6 languages.
Oh, wow.
in all the interviews where you see him in full gin makeup, just talking like a scholar of history. It's like, why are you doing this?
That's the thing. He got replaced by Sean Connery's son. It was a nepotism play in the third one. So that's like, I don't know his name. I guess we're on Wiki Weekends. We should look it up. But it's Jeff Connery or whatever.
But, and speaking of, why are they in this? We're talking today specifically about the first I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. So the start of the I Know What You Did Last Summer verse. And myself and Lucas watched the movie yesterday. I presume you've watched every single one of the movies?
To be fair, there's only
three. One just yet.
Yeah, there's only 3 at the moment. There's a 4th one coming out. And what I'm fascinated by is, have you all seen most or any of the Scream movies?
I've watched a lot of the Scream movies, yes.
Okay, so in Scream 6, the most recent one, there's a confrontation between Courtney Cox's character and Ghostface. And she does this kind of thing where she's all like, I always knew it would come to this or whatever. But it's like the 6th person to wear Ghostface. It's not the same guy. And yet for this reboot, I'm just curious how they're going to handle it. It's not actually a reboot. It's 4 teens hit somebody else with a car or whatever and are being haunted or are being attacked a year later, and they decide to go to the protagonist of this movie and ask for their advice. But it's like, in what way are they related? Like, that doesn't...
it didn't work for them. It's like, how did you get away with it the first time? Well, the fact you're asking us means we didn't get away with it.
It's just, maybe they have a way to handle it, but conceptually, it makes no sense to me. And also, I don't think they told anybody, but whatever.
That's the point. The point of the movie is that they don't tell anybody. They make a very specific pact not to tell anybody.
They do tell the police who mock them, though, right? At the very end of the movie, I swear that they're explaining like this guy was coming at us with like a hook hand and stuff, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
But do they say because we hit him with a car and then threw him in the water?
That the thing. I don't know if they admit to the murder part specifically.
That's the thing. I don't think they ever are like, oh well, because that I don't exactly know everything about the legal system, but I'm pretty sure even if they're a murderer, you're not allowed to hit them with your car and throw them in the water while they're still alive.
That's true.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Hitting people with your car is generally frowned upon.
Well, and not telling anyone and then throwing the body in the water even when you realize they're still alive. You know what I mean? Yes. So, like, clearly the cops don't know all of it. So for these 4 teens to know about this analogous situation I'm just excited to see how they handle that, where it's like, oh, you guys are the experts on hitting people with cars and then being attacked a year later.
I guess it's a very specific skill, but it is one that they possess. And I guess to get us all on the same page, to click this Wikipedia page, I Know What You Did Last Summer is a 1997 American slasher film directed by Jim Gillespie, written by Kevin Williamson, and stars an all-star cast of Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Felipe, and Freddie Prinze Jr., with supporting roles including Johnny Galecki, a.k.a. Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, who keeps playing asshole characters.
Not Sheldon,
I don't understand. You told me, Lucas, right, you saw him in, like, the Mr. Bean movie?
Yeah, so in Bean the movie, the girl's like, I'm gonna go and, like, go off with my boyfriend who's, like, this dangerous biker guy, and it's just Johnny Galecki, and it's like, okay, cool.
And it makes no sense how, like, prior to Big Bang Theory, he kept getting cast as, like, weird, slimy asshole characters, when he just doesn't look like that at all. So there's typecasting's a thing. Freddie Prinze Jr., he's like, he's the good guy, the jock. Jennifer Love Hewitt, like the final girl. He doesn't look like the asshole character.
So he's in because again, this is me having seen every sequel of all these horrible films. He's in the 3rd Ring movie, like The Ring. He plays like this sexy professor who's like sleeping with his students, and of course also researching the phenomenon
The Ring.
Haunted VHS tapes, right? And so when you see him in those roles, you're like, I mean, I guess.
Guy's got some range, or a very good agent.
Well, none of these are the best films I've ever seen, but yeah, I get what you're saying. He's working, which is great.
Yeah, yes. He's a working actor, and I was surprised that this had such a stacked cast. Right, when I was watching it, I was like, oh, not so much a stacked cast, and a stacked cast were pretty decent, because I looked up a couple of reviews after the fact, And like Jennifer Love Hewitt gets a lot of praise, which I feel she deserves, for being an incredible actress in regards to her ability to convey terror, which is not something that is easy to do convincingly, and her screams of terror are pretty decent.
Yeah, certainly a lot more convincingly scared than Sarah Michelle Gellar.
She deals with vampires all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, just...
Yeah, she's used to it, yeah.
Like, obviously just being, like, Buffy wired, and I'd never seen this movie before yesterday. But, like, my brain is just sitting there going, like, come on, Buffy, just kick his ass.
Right. I think too, a thing that I like about Jennifer Love Hewitt's performance is I always sort of appreciate when the final girl is a little bit angry, you know? Like, they're terrified, right? But they're still sort of mad. Like, I always think the scene that stands out to me from this movie, and I think is the most famous scene, is when she screams, "What do you want from me?" or whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a kid on set who was visiting that day recommended that line. That's a Wiki fact.
If it's not on the Wiki, I did double check, but I know it's a very famous fact about the movie. So Lucas, the other bit was just screaming, "What are you waiting for?" Like, a little kid won like a radio contest and got to sit in and be a guest director for I Know What You Did Last Summer. And when they asked him, like, what should she do in this scene? Like, well, I think she should stand in the middle of the street and spin around while screaming. And they went, okay. And that's what she did.
And now it's the most famous scene. What I love about that scene as well, you all just saw it, is that her trunk is full of crabs and a dead body.
Oh, yeah.
She screams, goes back to the car, there's no crabs, there's no dead body. And I was like, where did those crabs go? That was probably expensive. Like, that's an expensive terror prank. Yeah.
I thought it was her going mad until I realized, no, they were actually, the killer got all the crabs. So he picked up every single crab. It wasn't wet. There wasn't the smell of crab or dead body.
Yeah, because, like, one of my notes that I wrote down watching this movie was, like, that was not a long period of time. How did he get all of, like, the body, the crabs, the jacket, just seemingly out of the car with no trace in that amount of time?
In the middle of a neighborhood in the middle of a day.
Yeah,
It's a pretty upscale neighborhood, right? You're going to have some curtain twitchers, some old people looking out to see what's going on. You're going to notice a dude running with a sack of crab.
I guess he's dressed as a fisherman, right? So maybe, I mean, carrying the dead body probably doesn't help, but at least if you saw in this town a fisherman carrying a sack of crabs, maybe you would be like, well, maybe he's
it's
selling
still
them
a
door to
bit
door.
Suspicious getting them out of the, like, boot of a car, though, right?
Right. It did make me wonder, though, why he didn't do more fisherman-related, like, terror pranks, like hiding fish or something there, but I guess crabs are kind of cool.
We'll also say, like, Max gets it rough, because, like, he's an innocent bystander in all of this, and he just gets murdered second one.
Yeah, he was just a witness. It feels like he should have been killed by the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because he's like trying to hook up with all their girlfriends. He's like, immediately going up to Jennifer Love Hewitt and like asking her on a date, and then.
To be fair, why wouldn't you? Right? He shoots his shot, and I've got to respect him for that.
You have to. You see, she's leaving town. I've got one last chance.
It's like he ended up getting with Kayla Kuko, and that was just as unrealistic. Again, he must have a great agent, right? In Egypt, casting in this movie, where I get, or at least get to skis on the hottest girl in the project.
Mm-hmm.
And his agent's like, how much blackmail material you got on this director then? It's like, quite a bit. You will have to get surrounded by crabs, though. That's fine.
It's a great point, though. Why can you? I'm sure the wiki doesn't say why was he killed. What does he have to do with anything? Like, there's no.
Well, you know what? You might get into that, because I do know there's like talk of they needed to kill someone early enough in the film, and I think he was the sacrificial lamb in that regard.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because the core cast of 4 people, it's like, well, we need to kill someone early in the movie, but the premise of the movie is that there's 4 people who know.
Not most, but a serious portion of my notes is like, when is this Barry prick gonna die? Just please kill this rich dude off.
He gets hit by a car and he's fine. It's like, which proves that being hit by a car in this universe is not that big a deal, because that's what happens to him and he's okay.
Yeah, just walks off.
But yeah, it says here, the film centres loosely on 4 teenagers who were stalked by a hook-wielding killer 1 year after covering up a car accident in which they supposedly killed a man, drawing inspiration from an urban legend known as The Hook. Which is like, that's It's not as popular over here, but we're aware of it via pop culture osmosis, of like the campfire tale of the man with a hook for a hand chasing you.
I definitely must have heard it through like watching Goosebumps or something like that, right?
It's basically a Goosebumps plot.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how they introduce it, right? They're sitting around a campfire, and it is funny too. It's like, what are the odds that this guy? I assume he's not. My understanding is he's not attempting to manifest. Like, he's not working off of an urban legend necessarily. He just wants to kill a bunch of people, and he happens to have a hook. You know, it syncs up very fortuitously, but there's no. There are a lot of movies where the serial killer is blurring the line between fact and fiction or whatever. Like, they're trying to play off of a story, or it's like, is it a ghost or is it like, that's like a Scooby-Doo plot.
Yeah, Scream as well, right? That's where they play on the fact, does Ghostface have superpowers? It's like, no, it's just two guys.
Right. Well, and then every subsequent movie is fans of the killing in the first movie, or the movies inspired by the killings or whatever. Which, fun fact, Kevin Williamson, also the writer of Scream.
It does mention it right on the poster from the creators of Scream, which is interesting because it mentions here that Williamson was approached to adapt the source novel by producer Eric Feig, where Scream released the previous years contained prominent elements of satire and self-referentiality. Williamson's script for I Know What You Did Last Summer reworked the central novel's plot to resemble a more straightforward 1980s era slasher film. So the dude had some range. He wrote a slasher film and then a film making fun of a slasher film at the same time.
Same year.
True fact, you could do it, I suppose. Same year, but not releasing the same year.
I had assumed that Scream comes later because I hadn't looked.
It feels
the film
like it, right?
Yet, but like, I was just like, oh, Scream was also parodying this movie a bit as well, and it's like, oh no, okay, just same writer. That also makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Scream 2 came out this year. That's what it was, which he also wrote. But
Scream is such a great series.
Scream is a lot better than this film is.
My favourite bit about Scream is is it Scream 6 where Ghostface fuck it and he just gets a gun? And everyone loses their shit. He's like, screw it, he's got a gun now.
Yeah, he's just blasting bags of Doritos or whatever in a gas station, which is...
It's such an interesting twist, right? It's like, well, he can't get me because it's a dude with a butcher's knife, what's he going to do? And he pulls out a piece, and it's like, oh no. Breaking all the rules.
Well, and that's, the interesting thing about Scream is ostensibly there don't have to be any... It's never the same guy. The guy dies every time, and so it can and or woman, because half the time it's the twist is that the 7-foot tall creature chasing you actually is a 5'3" 16-year-old or whatever, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, I did all those movies as well. I found them significantly more enjoyable.
We're fans of Scream because when we covered Ghostface the character, a detail that I like is that Ghostface is differentiated from other slasher villains in the sense that Ghostface will make mistakes. And I always thought that was interesting that makes Ghostface scarier. It's like Jason Voorhees is going to catch it because he's Jason Voorhees. But Ghostface will occasionally just trip and eat shit, which makes you feel like you've got a chance to get away. Which makes when he gets you even scarier. It's like there was that split second where you could have gotten away, but you just didn't capitalize on it enough.
I pointed that out in the video where I remember very distinctly the fourth one. He just falls down the stairs a bunch. and I mean,
he would though, right?
Yeah. Well, and again, that one is one of those probably the 17-year-old girl characters. Not to spoil it, but it just it makes more sense. Like they are doing a good job of trying to be like, well, it is just kind of a person. It's not. It's not. Yeah, this undead hulking thing from the lake. It's just it could be anybody, and I always think that's funny.
Sometimes they fall over, right? They hit their head, fall over? Or they trip, but they're still gonna be scary. It's a person with a butcher's knife running at you.
Yeah, or shotgun, depending.
I remember that was in the trailer, and people got real mad about it. Went, no, it's the ultimate twist. He's got a gun. So many horror movies could be revitalized, given a literal shot in the arm if they just gave the slasher villain a gun.
It'd be interesting to see, they're already, if it's Michael Myers or Jason, where they're effectively invincible, or Freddy, just running around with a shotgun. It would be interesting it would make you have to think a lot faster. Because in most of those movies, they can't outrun you necessarily. You just happen to trip in the woods all the time because you're bad at running. So it would be
from the
interesting.
ring. That's what I want.
You
I
want
mean,
that
she should
with
be
a
able to
gun?
like use powers based on what you're watching when she crawls out of the TV. There's a gimmick. Like, you have to be watching a cowboy movie, she crawls out and she's got like a cowboy hat on. That could be fun. I'd watch
She
that
can
movie.
infect any movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Freddy Krueger there. So I had an interesting night last night where
Okay.
I started watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I thought it was very strange, and I got vibes that it was maybe some kind of like Freddy Krueger spin-off element to this film, because it began with a dream, and I was very confused, and I watched about 40 minutes of this film before Jennifer Love Hewitt goes, "It happened again," and I went, "Wait, what?"
Were you watching the second
And I was
one?
watching the second movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because
So then
we
I watched
spoiled it for
40
you, I
minutes.
imagine, right? Now
Yeah,
you know
he
she
spoiled
survives.
the first one for me, and then I went back and was like, "Oh, okay." So then I watched all of the first movie after 40 minutes of the sequel, and I
Okay.
was very, very confused for those 40 minutes.
Oh, speaking of the sequels, the film is followed by a sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which, you know what, as titling goes, I'm not mad at that. That's
No,
a
it's a
good
good
title
title.
for a follow-up to this film. I'm not a fan of the third one, which is straight-to-video standalone sequel, I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer.
That's the perfect trajectory, isn't it? Like, third movie right to VHS.
Yeah, and it featured an entirely new cast, followed by a television series. So did you happen to include the television series as part of your retrospective, or do you consider it separate canon?
I didn't, only because I've already set a precedent that I haven't been doing the television series of a lot of these, because like I did all the Chucky movies, for example, and there's like 3 seasons and an ongoing. It would get unwieldy. The deal I keep making is if any video gets 1 million views, I'll revisit and start exploring. For example, with the Grudge franchise, the like Ju-on movies or like you know the actual Japanese versions, stuff like that. So I haven't watched this. The only thing I'll say though about the I Still Know What You Did Last Summer conceit.
Yes.
Which last summer? Because it's a year later, so it's
2 summers
2
ago.
summers prior, and technically the person that he killed was now 3 summers ago. So knowing what you did last summer, all they did last summer was kick him in the water and rip his hand off. Or, you know what I mean? Like it's just funny
I
because
guess
you
he'd
start
still
to
be
get to
mad
a point.
about that.
It's
He's probably
fine,
still be mad about that, right? He's still
but I mean,
mad about it
everybody
being
knows
happening.
what they did last summer. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's funny, and then I'll always know what you did last summer. Now, to be fair, that's now a new plot and new characters and all that stuff. But
Yeah, and then he mentions finally a legacy sequel to the first 2 films is scheduled by Sony Pictures to be released later this month, at least at the time of recording. So has that not been included in your retrospective then? Is it going to be? Or
it will be.
watching it?
Yeah, I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to. The big question is whether to slot it in after the second movie or after the third movie, and I'll probably try and cram it in between the second and third because it is direct continuity as opposed to the third one. You know, he's a ghost or whatever.
It's an interesting concept. I'm not sure how you'd be able to copyright the concept of what is essentially an urban legend. Because, that feels like that's like bordering on public domain almost, right?
It is their own definitive character, though, right? Because it's like the fisherman or whatever is like a separate entity than a folktale.
Even still, like it
It's
feels
not
like it's the
strong
most
case.
generic story I
Yeah,
can imagine. Right, I'm pretty sure there's like a Stephen King short about it. Right, it's The Hitchhiker, which is itself often criticised for being so like
tropey.
so loose a plot because it's just lady hits guy with car and then he's haunted by his ghost.
I was just reading this. A thing that is interesting to this is that while the director was auditioning actresses, he said like 60 to 65% of them had read the source material. Have either of you read the novel?
I haven't read the novel, no, but I know it is based on a book in addition to like numerous things. We have here development and writing. So, written by Kevin Williamson, the screenplay for I Know What You Did Last Summer was rushed into production, having previously been disregarded by Columbia Pictures upon the success of Williamson's written Scream in 1996, which I guess must happen a lot in Hollywood, right? Of, okay, this dude got a hit, what else have they done?
What else have they got? Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't usually think of that as a writer thing. Like
No, it's normally an actor, right? An actor's like in a big movie and say, oh, that actor's hot now.
Right, because it's tough. I mean, obviously, you as you put, it's on the poster, like from the writer of Scream or whatever. But that I almost never see that as a selling point exactly.
I think it does happen a little bit with Alex Garland, who was the writer for 28 Days Later, and they get a lot of like bump from like, oh, the guy who wrote 28 Days Later is directing this film.
Yeah, because we recently did 28 Years Later, didn't we? Well, we talked about 28 Days Later and reference like Alex Garland, where he's like now well known enough where he's from the guy who wrote Ex Machina, from the guy who wrote 28 Days Later. I guess it's just you've got to write a good movie, and Scream's a good movie, so.
It's true. It's just, that was Wes Craven directed. That's presumably how they sold Scream itself, was not like, it's so well written. They're like, it's Wes Craven again. Yeah.
I think as well,
did you guys
on the
like 28 Years
say.
Later?
What was that, sorry?
Did you like 28 Years Later?
I found it interesting. I'll not spoil it because it's only been like a couple of weeks. I found it to be interesting.
Yeah.
But frustrating that it's clearly the first of... It's one of my biggest pet peeves of it's obvious that they want to make a sequel. So the entirety of the movie is setting up the sequel. It's like, so all the interesting stuff's going to happen in the next movie.
I mean, that's the thing, right, is when they announce, like, hey, we're going to make 3 films of this sequel, and it's like, could you not just make one at a time? No, okay, that's not how we're doing it. Sure.
They also, in regards to the law, they don't change the law, but they just introduce a bunch of wild new things about how the virus works, having not explained or explored how the virus works in the previous movies.
And they sort of hand wave away. At the end of the second movie, they're like running through Paris. Zombies are. Yeah. At the beginning of that movie, they're like, but that was fine. We killed them all.
Even though it's shown one person in London caused the entirety of the UK to get fucked all over again. 500 infected running into Paris was sorted out in 10 seconds and no one needs to talk about it. And Alex Garland was in like, I think a Reddit AMA and he got asked about that. He went, they nuked Paris. Just as soon as it happened, NATO nuked Paris. It's done. They shut the tunnel and nuked Paris. He's like, you know what? That's actually a smart idea. If they saw what happened in the UK and they had like a year to prepare, I can imagine they'd be like, we're not letting... Yeah. The fact that the tunnel still existed is what baffles me. That should have been like blown up second one.
Second one, yeah. But
I'm surprised they didn't nuke the UK at some point. It's interesting to have like this quarantine. I mean, that's not a very long or interesting movie, but it is kind of fascinating that they're like, all right, fine, they can live here.
It'd be very
funny. Sending people back. It's hilarious.
28 years later is just, hey, the UK got nuked. End of film. Just that's it.
It's not to Paris. So they just bombed Paris and it's fine. It is a massive plot hole though. They left the tunnel open. What were they expecting?
Yeah. Again, it's just plot written for the sake of an interesting film, not for what would be realistic, right?
Yeah. But I found the film to be interesting. The ending probably doesn't mean a lot to you, Jordan, but there's like, the people in the UK, they're probably going to look at how it ends and go, that is a very interesting choice. So, Lucas, they reference a very controversial British figure.
There's many.
28 years later at the end?
In 28 years later, yes.
That felt like a moment where I was like, is this supposed to be somebody?
It's
Yeah, okay.
And it's really strange because that's a person that you probably shouldn't be referencing. And it's hard to like describe it more than that.
Yeah, without spoiling things, because I've not seen it yet, but like I'm interested because I'm just like the 20 different names appeared in my head at once when you said controversial British figures. Like, there's many. Yeah,
because obviously the film's like, oh well, culture for the UK stopped in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, which they also didn't explore enough for me, which I found frustrating. But I want to know, why did they not play on like early 2000s nostalgia for this movie more? If you've essentially got a country that is now stuck in the early 2000s as a result of this, why were they not playing on that more?
Like, why were there not iPods everywhere?
Zooms, that's the one, right?
Gotcha.
But we'll get back now to I Know What You Did Last Summer. So the development producer, Eric Feig, pitched the screen adaptation to Mandalay Entertainment and subsequently appointed Williamson to retool the core elements of the original novel, rendering a screenplay more akin to a 1980s slasher film. Inspired by his father, who'd been a commercial fisherman, Williamson changed the setting of the novel to a small fishing village and made the villain a hook-wielding fisherman. And the thing is, that's not a fishing hook. Is that a thing they use? Is it to get fish out of the water or something? It's not a fish. It's like a big old hook that you'd use for, like, not grain, wheat, right? It's like one of those wheat hooks that you'd use to, like, lift up a bale of hay and move around. I can't see why a fisherman would have a giant hook.
I don't
guess,
know
like, for
about...
maybe moving big fish around or something like that. It might be in the shop, because that's where he gets it from, right? Is, like, the shop that Max works in, or, like, you know, warehouse or whatever. But, like, the one thing that really frustrated me with the hook is that the way that he was holding the hook was so inconsistent scene to scene. He was holding it, like, backhanded half of the time. It was like, that seems really inefficient, and it was just bugging me the entire time.
It's not really an effective looking weapon, is it? Because like, if you're holding it the wrong way around, you might as well be beating someone with, like, a coat hanger.
Mm-hmm.
There's no edge to it, right?
And there's a disadvantage in length, right? Like the pointy end is actually kind of facing you.
Yes.
You sort of have to get further than they are. And that's what he kind of does sometimes. It's like a bad comedian in like a 1920s vaudeville where they're
the
like,
crook, right? Bring it across.
hooked off stage.
That'd be a villain. Right? Getting with that.
I mean, it's very effective when, like, you can take someone by surprise like you did, Max, and get you, like, hook you under the chin. Something like that. But, yeah, it doesn't seem like the scariest of slasher villain weapons, for sure.
It also doesn't seem that versatile. Like, you can't have many creative kills with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's always, like, the hallmark of a good slasher movie, right? Like, the creative kills. Like, Jason Voorhees. Like, it's usually the bluntness of how he kills people that's so interesting, because it's just a guy with super strength just ripping people's heads off. Like, do the later movies have any interesting, like, utilization of that hook as a weapon?
That's a good question.
Does he like two?
Not really. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but it's a little bit of just, you know, they try and do random other things like they lock. I don't even fully understand it, but they lock Jennifer Love Hewitt's character in a tanning bed. So it has nothing to do with fishermen. It has nothing to do with hooks. They just happen to be in the Bahamas, and so he does that, I guess. But like in general, it's still basically walking up, slashing somebody, and then stuffing the body somewhere to be found. There are very, very few that I can think of off the top of my head. If any, like...
It's not something that really lends itself to that much creativity in regards to dispatching the teenagers you're hunting.
Yeah.
Well, I think your point was valid, which is like he should be doing more fisherman things.
Yes.
You can have a hook and it's scary and that's an option, but although I say that, I don't know, you catch them in a net or you hook them with a fishing pole. I don't know.
Displaying the bodies, right, on like a upside down, gutting them.
Oh, that's true.
That could be make quite interesting visuals, right, of them walking in, like turning them into chunks. I think I've not seen it yet, but there's that shark movie about a serial killer who just turns people into chum because he's trying to like lure and create sharks that eat men. So he's like a serial killer who feeds people to sharks, but really slowly. Which I saw and I was like, yeah, well, that's an interesting twist on the serial killer movies. Like, it's the guy using the sharks. It's not like a killer shark gets somebody. Because you know what? I'm just happy that they found a twist on the way to get a shark into a movie.
We've been needing that, yeah.
Just like this time, it's like shark and man working together.
No, from what I saw of the sequel, the only two kills were just very non-interesting, and one of them is just a housekeeper knocking on his hotel door.
Right.
I was like, alright, yeah, she deserves to die, okay, sure.
A surprisingly bloodless movie as well for a slasher.
Yeah, not much, a couple of blood splats here and there, but...
Yeah. But it feels like, especially compared to Scream, which has so much blood. People are slipping on the blood in the Scream franchise, which is like, I'm glad that Scream addresses that. Like, hey, if you gutted someone, there's a lot of blood on the floor. It's very slippy. It's very difficult to maintain your balance wearing like combat boots on a kitchen floor when it's covered in like slick blood.
Well, and that's the fourth one is a torture porn parody, essentially.
Right.
So that's the one where, like, if you remember, I don't know why, but they walk into a room and it's like the whole room is just painted in blood and there's like intestines and stuff. He's obviously trying to do the way over the top, like, is sort of riffing on Saw style torture,
Saw and Hostel and all that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what's so funny again is he just kills like housekeepers, and even in the first one where he like hides as a mannequin to attack her sister, and you're like, who is that for? It's just like a silly thing that you decided to do because they're sort of like, well, he's gonna kill her with a hook. How can we make it fun until he does that? I guess he can pretend to be a mannequin for some reason. Which actually, okay, so the second movie, the entire twist, I don't know if you care if this gets spoiled. Do either of you know off the top of your head what the capital of Brazil is?
The movie says it's Rio de Janeiro, which I was not confident that was the case.
Is it not Rio?
No, it's Brasilia or whatever. Which, to be fair, I have a Brazilian brother-in-law, so I've been to Brazil, and I just the twist is that they're like, a radio station calls them and is like, what's the capital of Brazil? And they say Rio, and they're like, great, you won. You get to go to the Bahamas where we're going to kill you, which, again, even that alone is so ridiculous that, like, before I kill you, I'm going to send you on an all-expenses-paid vacation to the Bahamas.
So I've got your phone number, I know where you live.
Yeah.
I was very confused of like, is this radio show all part of the killer's plan, and they're paying for 4 people to go on a trip to the Bahamas? Like, what?
Where the logic breaks down, isn't it, when it comes to stuff like that? Of I think it's the Michael Myers movies, the Halloween ones, where there's multiple times where you see Michael Myers stalking Jamie Lee Curtis, and there's a scene that gets highlighted, which is very funny, where you can see Michael Myers driving a car, but he stops and he looks and he checks the proper road signs and stuff to see they didn't expect you to see him. And if they did expect you to see him, they didn't expect for that movie to become as important as it is. So now you can look back and just see Michael Myers driving a car. And it's like, but why is he checking
and obeying the laws of the road as well, yeah.
Like little moments like that, it's like, okay, sure, but why did he do that?
Right. Well, and so that's what's funny to me. Yeah, it's like the twist at the end of the movie is they realize, oh, the capital is not this. This whole thing has been staged so that he could get us out to the Bahamas to kill us. But I thought it was so funny, like, presumably this movie played internationally, and I was like, what did they change it for Brazil? Because every Brazilian would be like,
Maybe they might be aware that it's a common misconception, like with Australia, where everyone assumes it's Sydney and it's Canberra, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they just know it's like a popular misconception. Like, what I'd be curious about is like, they've already got the perfect setup there of, he's a fisherman, boat, water, they win a cruise, international waters. I know that's not a thing, but maybe that could have been the twist of, well, you're in international waters, so I can kill you and get away with it.
Right. No, the twist is he used to work at a Bahama resort, and I guess he knows it very well, so he brings them there.
They never have renovations or...
It's the off season technically. So
like storm season, yeah.
Yeah, it's they have hurricanes or whatever. So it's a skeleton crew, but of course he murders all of them too for no seeming reason. Anyway, not to spoil everything, but it's just it's very funny to me.
People have had the chance to watch it at this point. It's been a while, but
you've had like many years to watch this. Plus, it's like it's so generic a plot.
Yeah,
but to the point where it became like one of the standards that got parodied. It mentions like the Scary Movie franchise is like directly inspired by both this and Scream.
Yeah, and I wrote what I thought was going to be the movie within like a couple of sentences at the top of my notes, and just by the end of the film, I just checked back and was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just so boilerplate, and it was enjoyable watch, but it was just so predictable.
Yeah. Which is ironic, given that the guy wrote Scream, right? Which deliberately plays on those. Like I say, it feels like Scream should have come out later.
Yeah.
As a deconstruction of that movie.
I will say I liked that it, in a lot of ways, ended up becoming sort of a Shakespearean comedy of errors, in the sense of, like, the person you thought you killed was actually like another person who was killed earlier, but you just couldn't see their face, or like, because it was all bloody. And so the whole movie is just everybody thinking they were killing or had killed somebody, and actually this person had killed that buddy, and it just, or that person, and it just becomes this, like, it's just a bunch of mistaken identities, basically.
I think it was a bit strange to have like a 3-person link. I don't think the movie explained that very well, because you were assuming it was going to be like this Billy guy, and then it's like, turns out it was like the dad all along or something, right? And it's like, okay, that seemed like a bit of a swerve and wasn't explained overly well.
So here's what it was, because I had to explain it to my cameraman as well, because he's like, I don't understand what the hell you're talking about. Basically, 2 summers ago, from the main plot of this movie, Billy was driving with his fiance and got in a car wreck, and she died and he lived. 1 summer later, her dad murders Billy, maybe throws him in the water, I don't know. But as he's walking back from his murder, gets hit by a car, which is these people.
Some kind of irony, I guess.
Right. And his face gets bloodied, and I guess they still confuse this ostensibly 50-year-old man for a 20-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And
he had a hard life. They went through a lot of puberty.
Right. So then they throw that body in the water. He's not dead, though, so that body is never found. However, on the exact same night, the body of Billy is found, and I guess they never checked the autopsy to see, or, like, you know, there was no report as to how he died, because obviously I'm assuming he wasn't hit by a car and thrown in the water by the dad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they think they've killed this kid, but actually they hit the murderer who killed the kid and think it's the kid, and it was very confusing.
Yeah. Did they ever think to contact the kid's dad to tell him that his son had been killed in a hit and run?
It's it's just not told very well, but like I definitely was thrown off when they show the pictures of David and he's like in his 20s. They definitely didn't kill a guy that was that young. That
David, right. Not Billy. Yeah, Billy Blue was like his
Billy Blue,
secret name that was also the name of his boat or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Blue, we have a section on filming. It mentions that the director devised a colour scheme with cinematographer Dennis Crossan, which was marked by heavy blues throughout and a notable lack of any bright colours. So the overwhelming colour palette is blue.
Mm-hmm.
They did something similar for The Ring. I'm a fan of,
like, you know, when they try to get a little bit fancy with it. We get a little bit silly, like the classic one is Jaws, right? Where I think even Spielberg has discounted this. Of someone says, "Oh, there's no red in the film because he only wanted it to be blood." It's like people wear red in crowd shots, but we made an effort to not have main characters wear a lot of red. But of course, people still wear red in the movie because you can't tell a crowd of extras who just get told to wear their own stuff not to wear any red.
I mean, you could. It would just be difficult
if you're Steven Spielberg, you can, yeah. But
yeah.
Yeah, I like that element. I think there were a lot of movies. Sorry, I had lagged out, but in The Ring, which came out very similarly or around a similar time, they did a similar thing where they intentionally. I think they did kind of the opposite. They wanted it to be overlit a lot, and they wanted it to be that kind of sterile green blue. And so but again, this is sort of pre-digital coloring. If I'm not mistaken, Oh Brother Where Art Thou is the first movie to ever be digitally colored throughout.
I do know something about this. It's not that. It's okay. Freddy. It's Jason X.
That's the first digitally colored movie?
Yes. There's a great Red Letter Media bit about this where they're talking to a visual effects guy. And it turns out it was Jason X, but it was in post-production for too long. But obviously people say, "Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?" because that's a very important classic movie, but technically it was Jason X.
The most important historical film of all time.
Technically, it's a landmark moment in film, and obviously it gets overlooked because you don't want to say Jason X was the first digitally corrected movie.
Okay.
But that's what it was, apparently. And I just
Wow.
found that bit of trivia so fucking funny, because like, oh, god damn it, that's got to be in books now.
Yeah, it's
I
like
guess
having.
maybe that's why
Sorry,
it
I
took
was
so
going to
long.
say it's like having like a film on the quality level of Suicide Squad being an Academy Award winner, right?
Yep. Academy Award winning makeup.
it's
It's,
just
like,
got-
it's going to have that forever.
It's going to have it.
Yeah.
So you were saying like it was a ball ache to get like the color grading because it was before digital, like passovers
All I was
and
saying
stuff.
is, I thought it was impressive. They had to; those kinds of things had to be really thought out and done practically, which is obviously so much more effort than now. I could just film with any camera and then click sepia tone to make it look like, I don't know, an older film or like a Western or whatever.
Yeah. I could do it right now with lighting, right? But that's how they do it practically. Like the different colored gels and stuff, right? Is what they'd used back in the day. Or for The Matrix, he's the costume designer for that film. Gave every outfit worn by every member of the principal cast inside the Matrix, put it through a green wash. And then they washed it like 100 times to get almost all the green dye off. So if you look at a lot of the suits worn by like the agents, for example, there's a green tint to them. But that's not a post-production effect. That is a practical effect done by washing the white shirts in green, then washing them till they were mostly white again.
And as you say, compare that level of effort to clicking a button in an editor, or just
What
like
makes
make it a bit green.
With the Matrix, though, when there's the infamous Blu-ray where they just for the Blu-ray just put green sheen in post-production over every scene, including scenes set outside of the Matrix where the color scheme for outside the Matrix is blue. Blue represents the real world, green represents the Matrix, so it completely ruins the intent. But they tried. So what we talked about that was in regards to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer HD reboot, right? Or HD remake or
Where
remaster.
they made it widescreen without thinking about the fact it wasn't filmed for widescreen.
So there's examples where it's like Buffy is looking for a vampire who appears. So it's a vampire, he appears from nowhere. But in reality, the actor just stood off frame. And he was off frame on the 4:3 edit. But in the re-release on widescreen, you just see him stood there and Buffy's like, "Where are you?" They also fixed the lighting so you could see everything. Some of the scenes were dark, but it's a show about vampires. So you have like scenes with vampires in it where they color corrected it to be the day. It's great. Like just get someone who thinks about it more than not at all, right?
I think
So they thought about it for this movie. They got a dude in, like their cinematographer's like, well, we want a lot of blue hues for this to get across, like, the theme of water.
I still think like one of my favourite examples of thinking about it is James Cameron with Terminator 2, where they had like different boxes like on their previews to show like what aspect ratio they're filming at and what would be fitting frame for like the 4:3 for the movie edit, for the like widescreen edit. So they were thinking about it in real time and not just worrying about it later.
Yeah, it's like there's so much like interesting stuff that goes into like production and stuff like that. Like the first Terminator movie, they couldn't afford to rent the lights to get like the blue effect, like the metallic sheen on like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's like strolling up naked. So they looked specifically for lights that still use like a specific kind of gas that gave off a natural blue tint and just filmed there. Because, we can spend a couple $1,000s getting the lights, or we can just get this one part of LA that's kind of like disused that has natural lighting like that anyway. So it's like, guerrilla filmmaking. And in that vein, like, I know you do a lot of like extra efforts, costumes, skits and stuff for your reviews. Is there any of those where there's behind the scenes stuff where it's way more of an effort than people might expect?
Well, it's interesting. It's in this kind of for whatever, I don't tend to do as much of the visual effects stuff, but like as an example, I wanted to grab a shot of who was it? It's Splits guy, completely Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's dancing in some movie, and for whatever reason I wanted to put him behind Freddy Krueger because we're doing A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was just like, I wonder if I can rotoscope that. And in After Effects, it took me about 20 seconds to completely cut him out of this movie from the 1980s and plop him into A Nightmare on Elm Street. So you can do almost anything now visually, like visual effects stuff. So I actually sort of like making things where you can see the seams a little bit, just to show that we're doing it not just using AI slop that you can program in and stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, you see when you look closely at a painting, right, and you can see like the brush strokes of the artist, right?
Yeah.
It's in a digital sense, right? Seeing those imperfections are what let you know a human made it. It's a good idea as well to protect yourself, to just get across to people like, hey, we're not using like AI slop as you mentioned. This is us doing it and leaving in those mistakes. We'll get that across.
Well, also, it's not any funnier if it's perfect. I think
imperfection is funny, right?
Yeah. So you had mentioned before we started I did the Mad Max series.
Yes.
And the whole video is me on a car flying down a road. But the way that we actually filmed it is I just sat on my car and I tried to make sure that my hands didn't go off the car. And then we went into After Effects and we just cut it out and then made a road going. And then I, after the fact, in After Effects, took the camera and made it wiggle. And then next to me on the windshield, we put a blue blanket so that we cut out that windshield. And then we got me off and got a friend of mine to just do that, just like pretend that he's driving. And then we just cut that in as well. So it's mostly just intuitive green screen tricks, basically. And so we do that kind of thing a lot. Like for the Wishmaster one that you, I believe you saw part of, I'm holding the jewel, but we filmed me on a green screen just facing the other way. And then I just took that and I manually, every time the jewel moved in Premiere, I set a new keyframe. And so it doesn't look right.
Oh, this thing, I've learned as I've gone along, so my effects aren't much better. Although I do like you record an entire music video. That's effort. Did you have to record an entire music video? Are the plans to release it as a single?
It is released as a single. We actually did it for we did all the Leprechaun films, and I just thought it'd be
Jennifer
funny
Aniston's best work. Yeah.
Yeah. What a series. And I did a song for that just because I thought it'd be fun. My wife and I were in a band for a long time, and so I miss doing music. We never made it work. So now I could just shoehorn it at the end of 3-hour videos about Leprechaun and be like, look, I wrote
Why
something.
not, right? It's a good way to keep that creative muscle flexed. We're just okay, here's the end of a 3-hour video. Now's your music video. Just time for a music video.
Yeah, I find it really interesting as well because I love watching video essays on these kind of subjects, especially really horrifically torture porn-esque ones like Saw, where just past Saw 1, I can't really watch them because of just how grotesque they are. So just being able to watch this just catalogue of a video essay just going through all of them is a lot nicer for me to be able to just have a rough idea of what happened in Saw.
It's an important touchstone for culture, right? Like the Saw movies, man. They were major. Well, it was like Halloween, 6 years. It wasn't Halloween until it was a Saw movie.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I recognize that what I make is not super helpful. If you were actually trying to figure out what the plot of Wishmaster is, the way that I edit and the way that I write is very confusing. It's more of an exercise in jokes than it is useful information.
It's
and so
also more, I guess, for people who are fans of the thing already, right? It's like watching a review, isn't it? I'm not going to watch the review until after I've seen the movie, but I would like to see this particular creative's thoughts on the movie, see if they line up with my own.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, and we've had people say that they do this, they have no concept of the Wishmaster series. They watch my fever dream explanation for an hour and a half, and they say, that's interesting. What is the movie like? They'll watch the movie, then they'll go, oh, then they'll watch it again with what you're saying, with the context, and now that they have an informed opinion on it. But we get a lot of people that are I refuse to watch, as an example, all the Saw movies because they're gross. But I sort of would like to know, but I also
how
don't
stupid
care.
It gets, right?
Yeah, but I also don't care that much.
Yeah,
it's
something.
I wouldn't care to watch 10 of those films, but I would care to roughly know the arc the series went on throughout. And just as you said, Karl, it was a like kind of cultural touchstone for quite a few years there, and it is one of those things. I kind of want to know what this is, but I don't want to watch all these films.
Not to mention as well, there's something to be said about the specific lens through which, like, it's viewed when you recount it, like the humorous one, of like specifically recounting it in the funniest possible way. So I did something, I'm not going to say similar, because it was like 5-second movie reviews I used to do.
Okay.
Where it's like summing up a movie in one sentence, but I specifically try and find the stupidest scene and write it out of context. For example, it's like John Wick is 90 minutes of Keanu Reeves getting hit by his car. And then just
right
over the top of like him getting hit by his car, because that's like a running gag for like that long.
Okay, that's so funny that you point that out. That's what I was thinking, in the sense that I was like, I think John Wick's weakness is that he has like automobile deafness. Like he gets hit like in the second movie, he's like walking through an Italian like empty street, hit by a car, and you're like
coming at him at full speed, yes,
at 300 miles an hour, and you're like, how did you not hear that?
Yeah, just like, I only did it very briefly because it was like an idea that I had for a while and it just never went anywhere.
Yeah, that's funny.
But it's like, for example, like Hot Fuzz 2007, Simon Pegg goes beast mode and knocks out 2 pensioners, making them overdose on hands and feet, respectively. And then just like the 5-second clip of him drop kicking that old woman.
Yeah.
I just found that to be like an amusing way of like doing it. Because you think, well, that's not what happens in the movie. And it's like, no, that is what happens in the movie. Specifically, if you only view this very particular lens. Yeah, just bring that idea back.
I love that because I think, I guess to your point, I'm about as uncharitable as possible with my interpretations of like what they intended to do in most scenes or most moments. So I will have a tendency to be like, we'll get comments of like, well, they probably meant this or this. And it's like, I don't care. I'm just going to say gut reaction, the worst possible, like, there may have been a reason why John Wick couldn't hear that car or whatever, but I'm just going to pretend, I'm going to take it the worst possible interpretation, which is he has some, like, as a kid, he blocked out the sound of automobiles or something.
Yeah, because I think I did create that compilation of him being hit by his car, and it was like a good, minute long.
Yeah.
And it looks really painful.
Yeah. I definitely think in terms of, like, doing your best to try and make an entertaining video, rather than a necessarily informative video, but that is the right direction to go with, right?
Especially with Wishmaster, right? It's Wishmaster.
Well,
it's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I think it's a little bit AI proof. To your point from earlier, anybody can plug the Wikipedia page into a chat bot or like I don't know how it works because I haven't done it, but make an AI read it and then have it create visuals or whatever. So if you need information, there's about 1 million channels that do it. I mean, obviously, you guys approach things very similarly, which is ostensibly we're talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I think if you were hoping to learn the plot of I Know What You Did Last Summer, this video is not overly helpful.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
more a tool for people who've already watched the movie or would like to hear our thoughts on the movie, or your thoughts on the movie, or your thoughts on things connected to the movie.
And that's something that you own, right? Like that's one of the only things that nobody can rip off is y'all's perspective on, well, anything really. When I was working at Crack, that was one of the things that I was pushing really hard is like, we can do more like, behind the scenes thing you didn't know about whatever, which is obviously what they sort of their bread and butter for a long time. But as the internet has gone, all that information is everywhere. Everybody knows what happened in the making of Jurassic Park. The only thing you have is either you're talking about it in a funnier or more interesting way, or you're just kind of talking about interpretations that only you have or whatever.
Yeah.
And so,
or observations that only you have made, like John Wick being allergic to cars, right?
Yeah. Exactly. There are not going to be 50, and maybe there will be after you make it, but there are probably 10,000 videos that detail the lore of the John Wick universe. But there are probably not very many that are just making fun of the fact that he gets hit by cars over and over and over and over and over, because that's sort of an observation that you've made. So anyway, my only point in saying all of that is like, sometimes I'll get comments that are like, why don't you just explain the plot of Saw? I'm like, well, because everybody else did.
Why would you watch
so many resources that you can go and find that information already. like trying to do something individual instead.
We'll see if it works, but that's the idea.
It seems to be working well so far. And, speaking of, like, not fully adapting something perfectly, the last bit of information from the wiki I feel is interesting here is Lois Duncan, the author of the original novel, heavily criticised the film adaptation, stating in 2002 that she was appalled her story was turned into a slasher film. Presumably, like, the extra money she got was fine there.
I mean, that's ultimately the thing, right? Nearly every time we do an adaptation on here, it's, well, the person who wrote the novel was not happy with the product, but they got paid.
No one will ever be angry with the guy who wrote The Witcher. And he's got a good reason to be, but dude was stupid, where he got offered, like, hey, do you want, like, $10,000 or 10% of everything the game makes in perpetuity? It's like, give me the $10,000, video games are stupid.
No.
So always take the residuals.
Yeah.
Like, always get points on the back end.
Yeah, you might as well take the risk unless you're desperate.
Well, I remember you telling me years ago, like when we worked together on a project, that you get like residuals from the Kardashians, right?
Yeah.
It's like you had a song that was like on the background of an episode, and you still get a residual check for that every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, we call it our Chipotle check because it's about $10 every 3 months or something, maybe 15. And it's just like Romanian reruns or something. It's like just completely arbitrary because it's some random episode. But yeah, exactly. Although I probably would have taken $10,000 if that was the deal, because I don't think we've approached that. But
I said, I can remember that, and I remember I had to look up the episode where it was mentioned to double check. Of like, I do remember this, like this deep Jordan lore, but I need to confirm it.
Yeah, I think it's called the Car Father.
Oh my god! I think there's like one show that gets constantly run on MTV nowadays, and like the band just make like all of their money from the fact that MTV basically only plays that one show with their song in it.
It's a good way, right? If you can get on that, get on that gravy train. It's a friend of mine's a musician. He talked to me how he knows through the grapevine the guy who wrote the Automatics Monster. It's like a one-hit wonder from like the early 2000s. And all that guy does is just sit in his house getting high, trying to write another hit. But he doesn't need to, because every year they always release, like, now that's what I call Dad Rock 26, and they'll include that on there. And just every year he gets his residual check at Christmas, and just, it pays for his house. You only need one hit, as long as you own it.
Is that the plot of About a Boy?
It pretty much is, yeah. That's like Hugh Grant's character, right? Yeah. He just lives off the residuals from a Christmas song like his dad wrote a few years prior.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen About a Boy basically since it came out. Yeah.
Am I allowed to read from the wiki? Because I just saw something that
you can if you like. Yeah, we've never had this. This is breaking new ground. Let's go.
I don't know if I'm allowed. I was just gonna. I mean, I should just read it verbatim, right?
Go for it.
You can do, yeah.
In September 24th, so this is under remakes. Obviously, there's a remake coming out.
There is indeed, yes.
With 3 days after this filming, so it'll be out presumably by the time you're listening to this. Hopefully it doesn't suck. I'll have watched it. But in September 2014, Sony Pictures revealed plans to remake the film with Mike Flanagan and Jeff Howard writing the script. The film was a high priority and was initially set for release in 2016. Further, the new direction and scope of the film would need an estimated $15 to $20 million, and Flanagan confirmed that this new iteration of the franchise would not include elements of the 1973 novel, nor of the 1997 feature film. Although at that point, what are you doing?
You're just taking the title at that point, right? It's a popular title that people recognize. Make a movie using it.
I mean, that's IP, right? Like, that's a lot of franchises at that point. Is just, it doesn't have to have anything to do with anything else. Just use the name again.
Well, I wrote a script about it, like, last month about iRobot, where just the guy, iRobot, started as a completely different movie about just a guy who gets killed by a robot. And then the studio just so happened to get the rights to Isaac Asimov's like backlog and went, just call it iRobot. And just, that was it. Just gave the dude the direction, like put the 3 laws in it and say it's called iRobot. Done.
That's a thing that the Saw franchise and other franchises have done, which is Saw 2 is just a completely unrelated script that they just said, now it's Saw 2.
Yep.
You know.
Same with, I believe, a lot of the Die Hard movies. The Die Hard movies were just like action movie ideas, and they said, well, just, okay, it happens to John McClane now. So I think it's White House Down. That was supposed to be a Die Hard sequel, but they've just made it its own thing. Because it was meant to be a proposed movie like John McClane at the White House. But Bruce Willis didn't want to do it, so it's like, okay, it's its own thing. It's Die Hard at the White House.
That would be a great title if it was just Die Hard at the
Die Hard
White House, right? I would love to watch that movie, and if they ever make it, 'cause that's got to get rebooted at some point, right? There's got to be a Die Hard TV show in development somewhere.
Yeah, I guess they tried to create his son in that fifth one. I just watched all of those too, of course.
I was about to ask, like, you're going to do a retrospective on those.
Yeah, I already wrote it. It's going to take a while to film and get ready, but
Crawling through a vent, I imagine, right?
That was the idea. We were going to try and get something to make it look like an air vent, and I'm stuck in there and trying to remember how to get out. So I'm going to watch all the Die Hards to learn, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess in that vein, give us a sneak peek if you're able to of like upcoming content people can find on your channels.
Well, obviously, there's a video about I Know What You Did Last Summer. Presumably, it's gonna ideally it's coming out next Friday, so that should be out. After that will be, I think, A Nightmare on Elm Street, which will be really long, probably like 4 hours.
There's like 13 of those, right?
There's only 9.
Okay. Only 9 movies.
Still only quite a few.
11 hours of content.
There's 13 Halloweens, which might be what you're thinking of. And ironically, there are 12 Friday the 13th. It feels like somebody just needs to make another one just to round it out. But
yeah, at least just fart out a 13th one for the sake of it, right?
And then I'm doing the Left Behind movie series. Are you familiar with this? I don't think this is a very popular thing anywhere outside of America. It's about the Rapture.
Wait, is that the Nicolas Cage one?
Nicolas Cage was in one of them, yeah.
Okay, so that's a series? I know it was like, there's the Nicolas Cage movie where it's The Rapture happens. There's sequels to that?
So that's actually a remake. There was a trilogy in the early aughts with Kirk Cameron, and then they rebooted it with Nick Cage in 2014, and then they had a sequel in 2023 where he's recast and all the things, but it's only 6 months later. And then they tried a YA, like a young adult spinoff called The Vanished. It was a bunch of teens dealing with the Rapture. And then
it's an interesting concept, but just if it keeps going back to Jesus, I don't care.
It's so that's what's weirdest is they also released, I don't think I have it in here, but they released a video for you to watch after the Rapture that explains what happened. So like
just to prep people, it's like, hey, if you're watching this, you're not going to heaven.
Yeah, that's the premise. That actually came out in 1994, so it's like 45 minutes long, and it's just like a bunch of Canadian dudes being like, we tried to tell you. But it's filmed like a documentary. It's a very fascinating series.
It sounds interesting because like it divorced of the religious context. It's an interesting premise for a movie. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that it must do right. They must like delve into like, oh, you weren't pure of heart, you sinned. And it's like, I don't want to be taught to like that by Nicolas Cage.
Well, Nicolas Cage is a sinner, but his character, obviously, he's left behind. So all the characters have been left behind ostensibly, and they're coming to terms with it. In the world of this, you get a second chance, so they're trying to do that. Okay. They're battling the Antichrist. It's very weird. Anyway, I think it'll be interesting. And then it's Saw, I think. Then it's Children of the Corn.
Do Saw again?
In a legally distinct way.
Well, I guess there has been a new one, right? So you got up to presumably not Saw X last time you did it.
Correct.
Which is like he's back again.
Yeah,
I Hoover that sucks out people's eyes.
Well, he's not back again. He's back in between the first and second movies, despite being 25 years older or whatever. He goes down to Mexico.
Out people's eyes with his. I can't get over how stupid it is that he just hoovers out someone's eyes. That's the trap is fuck you. You've got no eyes. It's like, what is this teaching me?
I don't remember which film it was that you told me to get the clip from, but I remember you telling me about a flashback scene where they tried to make him look younger by just putting him in a tracksuit.
Yeah.
It's dreadful.
And a backwards baseball hat.
Yep.
He's
backwards baseball cap, and they say he's 20 years younger.
That's the 7th one, just because I've rewatched them. There's a guy pretending that he survived a jigsaw trap, which is a terrible idea because he kills everyone and he's never been caught. So, but
and he fucking loves killing people. He loves it. It's his favourite pastime. Like I said, he just sits there. There's a bit where he's like in the 10th one. You see him sketching devices to like rip out people's skull, and he's just in a cafe drinking a coffee doing that. He loves it. It's like all he does. He just sits there, just thinking of ways to torture people.
That's what's so good about the Saw X is that, you know, it's sort of a drama about an old man dealing with his cancer or whatever, and then. You know, it's just like him going through his life. And then, he's in the park or at a cafe sketching torture devices. And you're like, oh, my God, that's right. He's a freaking lunatic. We actually don't want him to be cured. This guy's insane.
Yeah.
But it's like so much more artistically shot, so much slower. And then it's like, oh, my God, totally forgot that that's your thing.
But he's just so stupid, like I said. When he just sat there just getting... like rock hard at the thought of hoovering out someone's eyes to teach them a lesson of don't steal.
Right. And that was a daydream sequence, to your point.
Yeah,
he sees the janitor looking through a thing, and then he's like, I should I suck out your eyeballs unless you break all your fingers. Great.
That'll teach him not to steal. And the lesson that he really learns there is be better at stealing. That's the only lesson you really learn from Jigsaw. I think one of the best bits of acting in the entire film is like that. It's the black lady who has to cut her arm off, and you have like one of the Jigsaw people who's like all in on Jigsaw. Like, so do you have a new lease on life? She's like, fuck no. What lesson is this supposed to teach me? He's ruining my life. And it's like that's the most realistic reaction to the bullshit of a Jigsaw gave you a new lease on life. It's like, no, he tried to kill me, and I'm ruinously traumatized.
Yeah, like, all you gain is trauma. There's no life lessons here.
It's great. So I look forward to seeing that one recounted. Because, God, that series is so stupid. I love it.
I love, I will say, the one thing that I find fascinating about it compared to all these other horror series I have watched and am watching, the next one is Children of the Corn, like after Saw, which is just a bunch of random stuff, is that I have never heard of a horror franchise, like this that is so slavishly devoted to its own lore. To our point from earlier, like Wishmaster or Leprechaun or anything where rules start going out the window, every Saw movie is, at least the first 7 or whatever, are like they're one story. Yep. All the characters are the same. All the events happened. They try not to ever retcon, but they do that thing. We're like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing where they like show a scene again and you look in the corner and there's another character that you just didn't see the whole time.
Yeah.
Now
they were definitely there the whole time. Yeah.
And they really, really try and like, as the later movies go on and people like the character of John Kramer, really try and play up the fact that like, he has rules. It's like, well, he breaks them all the fucking time. Like I think to the trap of like the shotgun hallway where the trap is, you get hit by 4 shotguns at once. It's like, what test is there of you walk through a door and 4 shotguns hit you at once?
Yeah. It's a great series.
It's incredible.
I think also the fun thing about the all of the, it's not retconning technically, but it's the backfilling of the story, is that the variability of his ability, like his traps, becomes insane because as the movies go, they have to get more elaborate, but they're not usually progressing very far in time. So by the 5th movie, it opens with this like saw pendulum that's moving down to cut this guy's stomach, and to avoid it, he has to like put his hands in these things that like screw into his hands and smash them or ruin it or whatever. And you realize that that's a copycat from after Jigsaw's first ever trap, and his first ever trap was like he put a guy in a chair and they're like knives, and he had to put his face through that. And so he recruits this guy and tells him how shitty his trap was, And you, as the viewer, have the context of 5 movies of escalating traps. But if you're looking at the actual timeline, this guy is way more impressive than the one trap you've done, which is what if there were knives on a chair?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
Is it whichever one ends up secretly being a prequel, where the ending is like lasers that cut your head off? But it's revealed to be a prequel from the 90s. It's like, wait, he had lasers in the 90s, but then his trap in the first one is barbed wire.
Well, okay, so the twist in that one is that the cops are investigating crimes in the modern day, but the bodies are so mutilated that you can't tell that the game we're watching is in the past, and it's an identical game being done again. So that's how they brought Jigsaw back, is that the game is happening before everybody died, but the investigation is a copycat 15 years in the future. Have you ever seen the movie Predestination by any chance?
I have not.
Okay. It's the same director. It's one of these movies where, I won't spoil it, but it's a time travel thing, and it gets so in its own logic that it's baffling. Anyway, those are the guys that wrote this movie that I just said. So it's like, this is their whole thing.
They like Tobin Bell. He's a good actor. He's got great presence. His voice is iconic. I get it. You want to keep putting him in more movies. Just have him be the narrator.
I do think it's crazy. Like, not only just the levels of mechanical engineering that are required in some of the Saw films, but then the budgets. And it's like, where's this guy getting his money from? I don't know if that's ever established in those Saw films.
They say like he owned property, right? Like he flipped property or something. So he has a bunch of like empty houses and vacant lots, which all the movies take place at.
Yeah, even though like this ostensibly empty warehouse is drawing enough power to like power like 15 different elaborate traps, and you would think that the police, if they were looking for where all these murders are happening, would inspect these abandoned warehouses.
It's not like actually people growing weed, right? It's just this house. Like just do a thermal imaging of the roof. Okay, they're you drawing more power. Done.
That's the thing, right? It's like abandoned warehouses using like just thousands of pounds worth of electricity. Just let's go.
Or even to your point, like in the third one, they create chum essentially of about 40 different dead pigs, and I was like, where did they get 40 pigs to kill or whatever? Like, you know, somebody had to go put out an order for 40 pigs to go to this random warehouse that were then dumped on this guy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the silliness of, must be Batman Begins, right? Where he's like, okay, I found out this Batarang exists. Like, we can order some of these. It's like, best make sure I order 1 million of them so it's not suspicious.
Just ordering 1 billion bat wings. I wonder who Batman is,
not
right?
more suspicious.
The best thing though is he has the fucking tumbler, right? Which is a military prototype.
Mm-hmm.
And only one person in the company notices of like, hey, did you not notice that your prototype is running cop cars over on the news? Is that
very
right?
Specifically a Wayne Industries prototype. Like, it takes one link to follow that back. It's not a paper trail.
It's not even a picture, it's just the dude looks at it and goes, it's your design.
Yeah.
Either way, that will no doubt be a conversation for another day. And thank you very much, Jordan, for joining us today. It's much appreciated. Go check out his content, all found link below. It comes highly recommended.
Sorry, I was just going to say, thanks for having me. It was super fun.
Yeah, no, it's been excellent. Thank you.
To go out there and watch some I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let us know what you think. Cheers, everybody.